percentages of quantities can be calculated in lots of different ways. And for this video, I'm going to use this little toolbox here. I've got 50%, 25%, 20%, 10%, 5%, 1%. I've written them all as fractions, okay? And if you are not sure where those fractions have come from, then go back to my last video and have a little look at that. But we want to be able to find a percentage of a number. So for example, I want to find here 45% of 40. And there's actually lots of different ways that you can do this. Okay, I could find what 50% was and then take away what 5% was. That would leave me with 45%. I could work out what 25% was and then add on 20%. That would also give me 45%. And I could even work out what 1% was and multiply it by 45, and that would also give me 45% of whatever this is. So let's try and work out what we've got then. So let's find 50% of 40. Well, 50% is the same as having a half of something. And having a half of something, that's the same as dividing it by 2. So that's the same as saying, well, what's 40? Oops. What's 40 divided by 2? That's 20, isn't it? Okay, so I've got 50%. What about 5%? 5% of 40, well 5% is the same as having 1/20th. So if I divide 40 by 20, what do I get? So 40 divided by 20, that gives me 2. Okay, so I wanted to do 50% take away 5% to get my 45%. So my 50% take away my 5%, so that's going to be 20 take away 2, so that's going to leave me with 18. So 45% of 40 is 18. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, so this next one, we want to work out what 25% is and work out what 20% is and add them together. So 25% of 40, well 25%, that's the same as a quarter, so that's the same as doing 40 and dividing it by 4. So 40 divided by 4 equals 10. And to get my 20% of 40, 20% is the same as 1/5, so if I divide 40 by 5, that'll give me 20%. So what's that, 8? And to add, I have to add them together, don't I? I've got 25%, I need to add on 20% if I want my 45%. So I'm going to do 10 plus 8, and that equals 18. So 45% of 40 is 18. That's good, we've got the same answer, so we know that we've not made any mistakes. Right, for the next one, I want to work out what 1% is. Now 1% of 40, well that's the same as having 1/100th of 40, so that's the same as dividing 40 by 100. So I'm going to do 40, I'm going to divide it by 100. And that equals 0.4. Okay. Now I want to do, because I've got my 1%, I want 45 of these to make up my 45%. So I need to multiply it by 45. Now, you need to be careful sometimes multiplying by decimals. I think it's always helpful to write it as a fraction. So I'm going to do 45, I'm going to multiply it by 4/10, because that's an equivalent fraction, isn't it? In fact, actually, I could, if I wanted to, make it a bit easier. Let's do 45 and multiply it by 2/5. That's that fraction simplified. So I can, if I'm multiplying by a fraction here, I can divide by the denominator to make an equivalent expression. Let's do 45 divided by 5 is 9, and we need to have 2/5. So if I divide 45 by 5, I get 1/5. I want 2/5, so I need to multiply it by 2, and that gives me 18. So again, 45% of 40 is 18. So lots of ways of doing it. I'm sure you can find more ways as well. Yeah.
Joash Math.